So welcome back to the VR Compass, and in today's video I will be showing you guys the full guide on how to play Roblox in VR. Trust me guys, there are so many different tips and tricks that you guys need to know, so watch the entire tutorial so you don't miss a thing.
If you don't know how to install it, just go to the store and then just literally search Roblox. It's very easy to find. Obviously I'm terrible at typing, but just search Roblox and you can see it's literally the first one there. So make sure you've installed Roblox. Now once that's done, I'm going to click open and I'm going to show you guys the quickest way to sign in. So most of you guys, probably isn't your first time making an account. Of course, if you have to make an account, make an account. But since you already have an account, most likely, if you have an account, make sure that you hit the sign in button and then there will be a code on screen where you can sign in. So for me, this is the code that I'm going to now go into my desktop account. I'm going to sign in. Now, this only works if you already have a Roblox account that is or actively signed in. So I'm now going to switch over to my desktop and I'm going to show you guys what I would see when I sign in. So you can see I go on my settings, then I go to quick sign in, then I will just enter that code that I just saw. So that's the same code. Then I'm going to click enter and now it says this device will have access to all of your stuff. So now I'm going to click confirm. And then it says login successful, so I click done. So now that I'm back on the Roblox screen, you can see everything is here. Yeah, so this is of course how you log in. Now this is just a sign in. What we're going to do now is of course the gameplay. So Roblox VR is very strange, but one of the first things you should probably do is go to more. Then you want to go to the VR tutorial because this is going to give you a quick walk around and I'll show you guys a few things that the tutorial did miss. So load up the tutorial. I'm going to show you guys. So one of the first things you want to do is of course if you're running around in VR, you want to make sure that you click this button here. So this button is the click button for the right controller. So for the right hand, just click it and you'll be in first person, and in first person you can look around or you can go back to third person and then move with this one. Okay, so those are the very, very simple controls. Of course, to jump, of course there's that button, you can jump, just use A to jump. And then of course if you actually want to move without moving your head because it may be a bit time consuming, you just use this to turn around and you can see that's easily how you do it. So you turn, and that's this button. So turn and then jump, just like that. So it's very simple. If you want to go into first person, you can do that. You want to turn, you can do that. So very, very simple. Then of course they have this feature called the safety bubble. So you can go on into your settings and you can set your safety bubble so that people come close and they're able to be visual. It's very weird, but it's just something super basic. So for me, I have this set to no one because honestly, even if someone is your friend, it kind of just obstructs your vision. But if someone comes into your field of view, like very, very close, if you have this set onto only friends, you'll still be able to see them. But I think it's very useful. So it just decides who can come close to you without having to fade out. And the reason that they do this is because visually it just becomes very, very hard to see. So there's not much of VR controls other than that in the quick movement demo. But I will say that you can see as I get close here that the user does fade out. So this is the safety bubble thing. So of course you can see my safety bubble. No one's really allowed in. But if I go super, super close, it does fade them out. And that's what I can do. So let me change the settings here. So if I go to anyone, you're going to see that if I get super close now, you can see that I'm super, super close and they're just right up in my face. So that's the only thing your safety bubble is, because I mean, if you're super famous, then the safety bubble is probably really useful. But if you're just a normal person, it just doesn't really make sense to have on because, at the same point, it's just useful to have anyone coming close to you and it's just, less obstructive. So one of the things that you guys have to understand, when you're doing your movement in online VR on Roblox, if you're in third person mode, the only way that you can actually move around is with this, where you just, move left and then to the left or move right. And if you're trying to, you can of course move 360 degrees, but if you actually want to see in a different direction, you're going to have to twist it a little bit, okay? And I know for some people that is probably going to be a little bit annoying, and of course visually it's not going to be the best to be able to do that, but it is of course what you're going to have to do. And interestingly enough, even in VR mode as well, it still is very strange the way you have to move, because if you don't do it that way, it just gets a little bit confusing. So for example, let's say I'm in first person mode on VR and I want to look to my right. I can look to my right, but if I'm moving forward and I look to my right, I'm still going to move forward. So it is a little bit weird to get used to at first, but just understand that turning a different way won't actually move you that way. If you actually want to look over there and go to there, you'll need to turn your thing and your controller so you can actually move in that direction. For most of the games that you want to play, you'll be able to instantly identify what the kind of game is. But since you guys have the basic movement controls over now. You understand that just moving around is like this, switching between first person and third person is like this. That is really all there is to it, as long as you want to move around, and of course as you want to jump around. So it's really, really, simple. So another thing that you're probably wondering is, how can I access the marketplace? The marketplace is relatively simple. I actually like it, but the only thing weird about the marketplace is that your avatar at the current moment is somehow, halfway through the ground, which is fairly annoying. But of course you can see different items. You can go to the characters, you can go to clothing, and of course you can buy different things if you don't want to. And of course the marketplace is relatively simple, just like it is on the desktop. Now if you still want to filter, you can still do that, but I would advise not really doing this in VR, because it's just a little bit slower. Like seeing the avatars and stuff, all of it just loads a lot slower. So I would just probably just do this on the desktop as well, considering as well the fact that if you want to rotate your character, you just use this button. But like I said, your character is just stuck halfway through the screen, which is kind of annoying. So yeah, of course you can definitely see different things. I'm not going to change my avatar right now, but this is just for those of you who might want to see it. Now one of the things I want you guys to understand is that when it comes to playing VR games, especially Roblox games, of course one of the things you can do if you're on your Quest or whatever device you're on, just hold this to kind of recenter it. That's always going to be useful. But understanding that the Roblox game situation is a bit of a weird one. So genuinely, when you're on the home spot, what will tend to happen is that you'll tend to find that games that, I guess you could say you want to play, some of them are available and some of them are not. Now, Roblox does this to prioritize user experience, because it knows that Roblox is not going to be great in a lot of games. So what this means is that if you want to play a dedicated game, I'll explain that in the later part of the video. But for now, I'm going to walk you guys through how to actually play these games, because upon doing it, it is first very confusing. So what you're likely to see is, of course, a bunch of different games that you can browse. But most of the games that you're going to browse are going to be VR competitive. Even if they don't say that they're VR competitive, most of the games that you see here will be VR competitive. Now, some games aren't VR competitive, but those are going to be the games that you do have to try out and test yourself, and you'll probably realize that they aren't really good to be in VR. If you do want to play a VR game, or the majority of VR games, I would say play the games that are in this area, which are recommended for you. Search down to see which other games are recommended for you, or, this is my advice, click the search bar. So if you go top right and then search, then just type in VR search, and then you'll be able to see a bunch of different games. Now, these are going to likely be the games as well that are VR, but of course, quick checks, depending on the rating, it's going to, of course, change whether or not you want to play that game. Some games will have VR versions, some games may not have VR versions, so it's important to see if you can find those games, whether or not they do have those VR versions, depending on play. Now, what's really important is that when you play a specific game, every game is going to have different controls. There isn't one universal language for Roblox VR games. Honestly, going to be, plug and play, meaning that with every other game, you're going to have to see just how it works. Some games are going to throw you into first person, some games are going to allow you to be third person. Let me show you guys an example of a game that is completely VR safe and it's really good, and what that's like to play. So this game is called Energy Assault FPS. Let's go into. Now, I've actually deployed this game and I'm actually loaded in, but one of the most important things to note is that if you are loaded into a game and you immediately see two giant blobs, and then if you click LS on both controllers and you aren't immediately beamed up to a third person, that usually means that the game you're playing is a fully integrated VR game, which is a good sign for the game that you're playing. If you press LS and it doesn't, make you crouch or do something weird for the game, and you can see yourself in third person, that usually means that the game is kind of 50-50, and they probably do support other titles as well. Now, this isn't essentially entirely bad, it just means that the game probably doesn't have as much VR support. So what you need to understand as well is that right now you can see that there's no controls, there's nothing telling me, what to do in this game. I'm going to have to figure it out. In most games, what you can do is you can usually look down, and usually there'll be some kind of, things on your collar, or there might be some kind of floating, items or whatever that you can usually see. In this case, there's not really anything floating. We just have a gun, and of course, I did already select the gun and go through the menu, but the point I'm trying to show you guys is that it doesn't really show you. So one of the things that is going to, struggle with when playing FPS games is reloading. So I'm going to shoot this until it, empties the clip. And so you might be thinking, okay, how on earth do I reload the gun? Sometimes you do press X, but on this example, you can see that pressing X just literally swaps weapons, and then pressing A just makes me jump. So how on earth do I, reload the gun? And I was super confused. Most games will have a way for you to physically interact with whatever it is that you're doing. So you may have to grab this, which is of course your button underneath. So remember, the grab button is going to be super useful. And so what you ideally want to do is grab the reload thing, throw it down, and then grab an invisible one and put it into the gun. Now, I know that's super weird. Okay, I know that's super weird that the fact that the game doesn't tell you to do that, but if you play a lot of VR games, you will eventually get used to this. The same goes for the pistol. So if I run out of ammo here, which I'm going to do, you can see there's no button to reload. I'm jumping around, I'm running around, I'm clicking this, the menu pops up. You can literally see in different devices. And of course, it's super weird, but if I use the hold and I go down and I grab an invisible thing, I can literally, insert that into the gun. So sometimes I didn't even do it there. I think I just actually lost the mag actually there. But yeah, so you can see I can then reload. So the point I'm trying to make, guys, is that some games will have just invisible things that you have to grab. So if you're out of ammo, try and grab down at your waistband to see how the game works. Now, of course, if you're wondering what else you can do, if you're pressing RT or whatever, you can see I can throw a grenade and it goes that way. If I want to throw a grenade that way, those things are going to be based on where I look. So grenade, and like, it's really weird because if you have a grenade or something, it will go the way that you're looking in the game, not the way that your character is, which is super weird. So a lot of games that you play in VR on Roblox, if they are VR optimized, it's just like playing any other VR game. You will have to basically look down, interact with the item if it runs out or reloads, and see if there's any kind of, buttons that you can press. As for the movement, most of the games, I'm just pressing LS here. You'll be able to do that. You'll be able to jump and look around. And yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. So movement, it might be a little bit nauseous for you. I think, that's of course going to happen. But, it's like when you're moving in this area as well, it's a lot smoother than moving compared to the Roblox tutorial area because the game is VR optimized. So you can see right there that there was an enemy. And of course, if you're not used to this, get it out, get a new mag in, and then you're ready to go again. Now, it's not as easy if you're playing this for the first time, but trust me, guys, over time, you will eventually get used to it. So this is just my advice as well. If you're moving as well, you can actually just move your head and then move towards the area, which is super useful. So another thing is that the VR tutorial, it's for very basic VR experiences. Experiences like this, I can literally look left and I don't need to, switch jaggedly. Switching jaggedly is often very confusing. So if you have a full 360 degree, it's best to utilize that if you can. So let's play this game, Shawarma Anomalies. So luckily for us, this is a game that actually has a little bit of VR support, but it doesn't have VR support in the traditional way. So I'm actually going to go ahead and play this game. So this is a game I've played before. It's super fun. But what we can see about this is that this doesn't have VR support. You can see your 3D character. Now, of course, I can go ahead into first person, but of course, I can also go ahead into third person. Now, this is once again one of those ones where you're going to have to, look around. So I'm just going to claim my daily reward. And if I actually want to, I can just always don't forget to hit this right here. So you can, of course, get rid of the menu. And of course, my battery is dying soon, but I will show you guys how to get into a game. So you can see the next shift starts here if we get into a game, and I'm with a bunch of other people. So you can see that the game is of course loading up. It's loading up. So I've actually played this one before. I'm not sure why this is loading up on my screen considering. So yeah, one of the things you'll see is that sometimes when the games aren't completely optimized, you'll see this super weird menu that is, right here. And it's supposed to be what the overlay is. Now, this is, a little bit annoying because, some games haven't done the overlay because it's not VR fully supported. So that's why you won't be able to see that. But of course, it is super annoying. But some games will actually allow you to open certain things. You'll still have certain buttons to be able to enter certain buildings, okay? So I would recommend, if you need the, of course, instructions, keep this menu on, even though it looks super weird. But if you, already know the game, just, put this down. But of course, you can see right here that it still does contain the instructions, but it is super weird to have. So because I played this game already, I know that, turning on the grill is just over here. So all I need to do is go over here and press X, whatever. What I'm saying is that like this is a game that is not really VR optimized, but it has some VR optimization. So if you ever get stuck, just open this and you'll be able to see any of the instructions, okay? So that should show you guys how to play VR on any game. Now, I know another question is coming and I'm going to show you guys how to answer that question. Another question that people are probably going to have is, how do I play games that don't have VR native support, but I want to play them on VR anyway? So if you want to play every single game on desktop, what you need to be able to do is go to this on your computer. This is the Meta Horizon link. This basically links your VR headset to your computer. So what you do here is you essentially just download this app, install the app on your computer, and then of course you're going to make sure that you do have a cable. The cable is essentially a USB-C to USB-C, or just a USB to USB-C cable. They're very, very common and they're used in most iPhones, so you probably have one laying around somewhere. And once that is all done, once you open up your software, you will then see this. As you can see right now, mine is of course connected to it. So once it's connected, then I can then go ahead and launch the Roblox client. So now I can, launch the Roblox client. So when I actually launch games from here, it's going to launch every single title in VR. So it's going to take a moment to set up. So just give me a moment. So here we are right now. And this is where I can play literally any game. So I can play like Blocks Fruits, any game, all of those super popular games. So for example, if we click play, let's go here. So if we click play, it should load up. And so, yeah, you can see now that the game has loaded in VR. Now make sure as well that, I know this does look super weird on the screen right now, like this does look super weird, but make sure as well on your Meta device that you actually enable it. So when you're on your Meta device, it will say enable things. So yeah, so you can see right now I'm in VR, and I do know that the aspect ratio is a little bit weird, but this is how you get in game. So back to the guide. Connected to the Roblox application, make sure you've downloaded the application once the application is there. Now I've never played 99 Nights before in the forest, so I don't really know what's going on, but what I do know is that what you guys can see right here is that of course, you need to have this thing on, because this thing is going to be, able to give you the UI and the user interface, and it doesn't look that great, but remember guys, these games aren't VR native. So if you want to play them in VR, you can of course go in first person mode. It is of course a little bit more fun, but of course you can see that, like, you still are going to have that UI issue there. So we're going to load into a game. You can see I can be in first person mode, but it doesn't really change the UI. If I put the UI on or off, you guys can see exactly how that works. So it says chop trees and place wood on the fire, so I can clearly get that. Then of course I can now start chopping the tree, and this is basically just like you would have a mouse. So RT is right click and LT is left click, if you're wondering what that is. So I've chopped the tree, and then of course, and you can see I basically just, it's RT, which I'm gonna just drag this, and I'm gonna have to, I'm not able to turn my head like that, so I can turn my character, but it is best just to use the left stick when you're on these kind of VR games. So I'm gonna go over to the fire, and I'm gonna just place the log right there. So this is how you play games that aren't VR native. You can still play every single game, but it is of course just a little bit of a workaround because these games aren't VR native, and you can click into VR, you can play 99 Nights in VR if you want to, but of course it's just going to be a bit different because the UI is just a little bit weird, and there's no real, VR thing. Like there's no real VR. It's just using these instead of a mouse. So hopefully this tutorial helps you out for 2026. If you guys have any questions down below, don't forget to leave a comment section down below. I will answer every single question. I know a ton about VR, so if you ask me any question, I will help you with all your bugs. Hopefully this helps you. Of course, if you want to play any other game, of course you're gonna have to back out and then do it manually on your computer. So with that being said, if you guys enjoyed the video, I'll see you in the next one.